Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial about Substance Painter, and today we are going to focus on texturing this jacket inside Substance Painter. But before jumping to the video itself, let me introduce the brand new course that we release for Substance Painter. Learning Substance Painter is easier than ever. Hey all substance lovers, texture seekers, and awesome future artists. Welcome to Ultimate Course for learning Substance Painter from zero to hero. Ready to learn how to texture with different projects? Substance Master released a brand new course for those who want to learn to texture with Substance Painter. In this course, we cover from preparing the model to rendering different projects, different challenges. If you want to level up your skill in texturing, come and check the Substance Master Ultimate course for learning Substance Painter. For this tutorial, I get the model from this collection that you can find the link in the description. And for the leather pattern, I use this collection from our library, and you can find the link in the description for this collection too. And for this tutorial, I provide you a project file that you can download it from our website, which is included the leather smart material that we are going to use in this tutorial, the leather pattern that comes from this collection, and 2 denim stitches for denim creation inside Substance Painter. So let's start the process. Okay, for the process, we just need to drag and drop the model that we modified from the collection into Substance Painter and just press OK. And the model is ready to use. But before doing anything, we need to go to the shader setting and just enable double-sided geometry option. Okay, and it's time to bake the mesh maps because we don't have any high poly. We just need to change the output size to 4K, anti-aliasing to 64, and just press bake. For the first task, let me create a folder and call it metal, and just press black mask and add paint and select the area that I want to have the metal surface. And now we are ready to use the metal folder. As you can see, I just select the mask that I want. And in here we have draw string, but it's not here in the painter because I want to add the material inside the marmoset tool bag, not here in the painter due to the quality matters. Okay, so I'm going to use the bronze armor smart material from default library of Substance Painter. And for this purpose, I just need to come here, type bronze, and use the bronze armor and put it here in the metal section. But I don't need the sharpen and the edge damage, so I just delete them because I'm going to add the sharpen effect myself, and it's going to create the double effect here. And for the edge damage, we don't have any damage on these surfaces, and we should remove that. Okay, so we are done for the metal section. And now it's time to focus on the denim and the leather. Okay, let me create a folder here. I'm going to call it the jacket, and to another folder, denim and the leather. Okay, put them under the jacket, and let's select the denim area. Okay, we want to have the denim here, here, and here. Okay, and this one, it's great. So we select all the parts that we want to have the denim surface. That's fine. And now I'm going to add an anchor point here, go to the leather, add black mask, add fill, load the anchor point here, the denim mask, and just use a level for invert action. And now I have the invert mask from the denim mask. So it's a dynamic. If I go to the denim part and change anything, it's going to be update on the leather part too. Okay, so we create the mask, and now it's time to create the denim material. For denim surface, we need to create a fill layer, call it denim base, and just change the color to something like dark blue. Put the roughness into a high value, for example 0.9, and that's it. This is for the base of the denim. And now it's time to create the denim pattern. So I'm going to create another fill layer and call it denim pattern. And let's add a black mask, add fill, and load the gradient linear number 2. Okay, and increase the tiling in both UV transformation and the tiling option in the parameters. So let's put it on 40, and I'm going to rotate it 40 degree. Okay, let's go to the mask itself. Okay, we couldn't see the pattern very well, so we can go here in a texture set setting and change the size from 1K to 2K. Now we can see the pattern. Okay, and I'm going to change to 320. Yeah, it's going to flip the rotation angle, and yeah, that's fine. And let's add a filter like warp. Okay, decrease the intensity. That's it. And let's add another fill layer, load the B&W spot, and put the blending mode to something like soft light. Okay, and we can decrease the amount of the opacity. That's great. Let's keep the height, just only the height, and let's increase. Okay, that's fine. This is the pattern base. And let's add effect layer here and add a filter like sharp and height to normal. Okay, and for this layer we need to change the blending mode to pass through and change all the blending mode in all channel. So we need to right click on the pass through and apply it to all channel. Okay, that's fine. So we have sharpen effect like this, and we can increase the normal intensity. And let's turn off the use word unit and play with the normal intensity slider to achieve the look that we want. And we can go here, increase the tiling amount, for example, to 45. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's focus on the next layer. And the next layer is small folds on the edge. So I'm going to call it folds and add a black mask. Go here, add generator and use the ambient occlusion generator here. Okay, and let's decrease the balance and just invert the mask. Okay, maybe this. Yeah, this one is great. And now it's time to add fill. Use map like crystal number 2. Okay, and change the rotation to 90 degree. Increase tiling, but we want to have something like a stretch, wrinkles and folds. So I'm going to unlock the tiling mode and put 1 for this and 2 for the X or U dimension. Now we can go to the noise parameter and change the scale to something like 4. Yeah, it's okay. And change the blending mode to multiply and add a filter like blur and a strong amount like 0.6 or 65. And let's go back to the layer itself. We need just color and height, and we can decrease the height for this layer to something like negative 0.3. And for the color, let's pick the pure white, change the blending mode to soft light. Okay, and play with the opacity here. Okay, like this one. We can go back here, go to the ambient occlusion, change the global blur or balance to control the area that we want to have these wrinkles. Okay, we can increase the blur intensity. Yeah, like this. And we can decrease the opacity of the ambient occlusion to control the mask. That's great. Okay, let's go to the height channel and decrease the opacity of the layer. That's fine. I'm going to duplicate it. So it's going to be folds 2. And for folds 2, I'm going to change the height amount to something like positive. 0.2 is good. And we can change or offset the texture. Okay, so we can change it like this. And we have this effect. So let's go back to the base color channel, decrease the opacity of the layer, and that's fine. Okay, it's time to create the color or discoloration layer. Okay, so I'm going to create this coloration layer. And for this color layer, we just need to have color, change it to something like light blue, put the base color blending mode to linear dodge. and decrease the opacity to something like 40. Okay, that's great. We have a great color variation on the surface, and we just need to add black mask, and I'm going to use light bake generator. Okay, let's go to the mask mode, and we can change the view angle. Okay, we want to focus here, and we can change the light angle, for example, like this. Yeah, let's add another generator. I'm going to use UV border and change the blending mode to subtract because I don't want to have discoloration on the edge, and we want to focus on the center of the surface. And let's add filter the blur, okay, and increase that to something like, for example, 10 or 9 is good. And it's time to add the cloud too. That's great. And change the blending mode to multiply. Okay, let's change the projection to triplanar. That's great. Go to the noise parameter and change the scale to 4. Play the balance to achieve the best look that we want. And I think it's okay. So let's go back to the layer itself, and we can decrease the opacity amount, and we can control the UV border. Okay, that's fine. And let's add another fill here. I'm going to use the cloud number 1, change the blending mode to multiply again, change the projection to triplanar, and go to the noise parameter and change the scale to something like 2 or 3. I think 3 is good. And we can decrease the opacity of the cloud to have variation on the surface and the color. Okay, like this. And we are done in a discoloration layer for now. Okay, and it's time to add some small white dots on the surface. So let's create a fill layer, and I'm going to call it white under threads. Add like mask, add a fill layer like B&W spot number 1, increase styling to something like 3, add a filter like high pass. Okay, increase sharpen by decreasing the radius. Okay, add a filter, histogram scan, and we can increase the contrast and decrease the position. Okay, now we have small dots on the surface, and I'm going to add another filter like warp to create variation on these small white dots that we have. Okay, let's go back here to B&W spot, change the balance, or we can increase the tiling amount. Okay, play with the disorder, play with the roughness, and I think it's good to have this amount of the whiteness. Okay, and yeah, this is fine. And we just need to have color and height. For the height, I'm going to put positive value, and for the base color, let's go for the pure white and just play with the opacity. Okay, I think that's fine. And it's time to work on the edge. I'm going to add a fill layer, and let's call it edge effect. And let's add black mask, add generator, and use UV border. Let's go to the mask mode and play with the balance. Okay, something like this is good. Play with the contrast smoothness like this. And yeah, okay, go back to the layer, keep the color and the height. And I'm going to change the color to something like pure white and add some positive value in the height. It's too much, actually. We can decrease that to something like this one and change the blending mode to soft light and decrease the opacity. Okay, and we can add a filter like blur, okay, to fade the effect on the edge. That's great. We can decrease the balance. Okay, this is a good result. And it's time to add the stitches on the surface. Okay, it's time to import this to Alpha to the project. I gave them to you with the link in the description. And now it's time to load the denim stitch pattern here as a mask. Okay, let's increase styling to something like 28. That's fine. Let's go back to the layer. I just need to have the height. and increase the height amount, something like 0.3. That's great. And we don't want to have this stitch pattern here on these lines. So let's go here, add a paint layer, change the blending mode to subtract, go to the polygon field, go to the UV layout, select all the layers, come back to the 3D, press X on the keyboard to invert the color from white to black, and select the island that you want to have these stitch lines. That's great. So let's add an anchor point here to use this anchor point in the next layers, and we are done. And I want to have some stitches line here too. So let's load the second alpha. I'm going to import it as a mask for the fill layer. And again, I'm going to put the 28 on the tiling. Okay, like this. And we just need to change the position, this map. Okay, go to the fill and just change the position and put it here. That's fine. And let's duplicate this paint layer to control the area that these stitches are going to show. Yeah, like this. And I'm going to add an anchor point here too. And we can add a level here to control the mask and play with this slider. Okay, that's fine. As you can see, we can control the effect here. This. Okay, that's fine. And now it's time to focus on the color of these stitches. The first color is for the denim stitches pattern. So let's get this name, put it here, add color suffix on that, and just keep the color. Add black mask, add the fill, load the anchor point that we create here, go to the mask, and play with the level to select the area that we want, because this gray area is not that we want. So let's play with the sliders like this and select the area for the color. That's great. And change the blending mode to soft light, change the color to pure white, and we can decrease the opacity to control the color. That's great. And for the stitch lines, we can add another fill layer, get the name, put it here, add color suffix here, just keep the color. And I'm going to use this color for the stitch line. And again, we are going to add a black mask, add fill, use the anchor point that we create, and play with the slider. Okay, great. And let's add a filter like blur to control the effect. It's great. And let's decrease the opacity to something like 40. That's fine. We are good to go for the denim part. And it's time to focus on the leather section. And now it's time to load the smart material that I give it to you. So let's import it to the leather folder, and it's work very well. Okay, we have the wrinkles, some scratches on the surface, and that's fine. And I want to add some leather pattern here on this surface and some strip line effect on this narrow area. Okay, so let's create a fill layer, put it under the Substance Master leather folder, and let's rename it to streets and add black mask, add a fill. Okay, now let's load the gradient linear 2. Okay, and increase tiling to something like 20. Okay, go back to the layer, keep the height, and increase the height amount. Okay, and let's go back to gradient linear again and increase tiling to 60. Okay, the height amount is too much, so let's bring it down. Yeah, I think it's good, and we can bring it down again. And for the metal section, we need to go to the height channel, change the blending mode from linear dodge to normal to avoid any effect that comes from the blow layers. Okay, let's go back to the strip and change the rotation to 90. And we have the effect that we want. And yeah, everything is okay except this part because the UV is rotated. So we need to fix that. And there is tons of way to fix this matter, but in here I'm going to show you a small trick. So for the first, let's add the paint layer and bring it down here and change the blending mode of the gradient linear to multiply. And right now in the paint layer and polygon field, if I select this area, the gradient linear should be shown on in this area too. Okay, so let's select all the area that I want. Okay, that's fine. So these are the area that I want to have this strip pattern, but for this part we need to rotate it 90 degrees. So what can I do for this section? Okay, let's go back here, add an anchor point, and I'm going to call it number 1. And again, I'm going to duplicate these layers, go back to the paint and remove all the area. Go back here, select this one, and for this purpose, I'm going to get the rotation to 0. Okay, that's fine. And let's add another anchor point and call it number 2. So I just create 2 different sets of masks under one layer, and I'm going to load them and combine them together. But how? Let's add a fill layer, put it like black, and duplicate it 2 times. And for the first fill layer, I'm going to load the first anchor point that we create, okay? And for the second, I'm going to load the number 2 and change the blending mode to linear dodge. Now we have the mask here, and it's easy to tweak because if I go here, go back to the paint and just select other area, it's going to be updated. Okay, so it's so fast and easy to add this effect on the leather part. And now it's time to add the leather pattern that we get from the Smart Material collection on the ArtStation. And now it's time to import the leather pattern from the project file. So let's put it here and import it as a mask. And for the layer itself, let's keep the height, just only the height. And let's increase the height amount to something like 0.2. And it's important to put it on the leather folder. Okay. And let's go back here, add a paint, change the blending mode to subtract, select all the UV island, press X and select the area that you want to have this leather pattern on that. So let's go back to the fill and change the tiling. For example, let's change it to 6. And I think it's okay. We can play with the offset and maybe, yeah, this one is much better. Okay, like this one. That's great. Let's go back here and add filter like blur and use a small amount like 12 and add another filter. Let's call it sharpen and decrease the sharpen intensity. And yeah, this is the without sharpen and blur, and we just blur it and sharpen it again, and we have a strong effect on the pattern. That's it. I think we can decrease the height amount to something like 15, and yeah, that's fine. So we are done with the leather part, and it's time to add the stitches. So for the stitches, let's create a paint layer and call it stitches. And I'm going to use top stitching brush. And after selecting this brush, we just need to create the point on the surface like this, okay? And change the type or tweak the parameter that we want. For example, I'm going to change the color to pure white. Go back here to the base color and change the blending mode to soft light, as you can see. And in the technical parameter, I'm going to decrease the height range. That's great. For the size, maybe 3 is better. And I'm going to change it to double stretch stitch. And in the stitching, the size should be on 0.7. Okay, like this. Okay, we need to create the point here. Remove that. Okay, like this one. And manage all the point on the surface like this. That's great. And press escape or enter to exit the draw mode. and I'm going to create another line here, change the category to satin, and yeah, straight is good to put here and here, and another point in the middle. Okay, I'm going to create another line here too. That's great. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to create a line here, another in here. Okay, and some line for this button in here. Okay, like this. We just create the detail that we want on the surface. Maybe staying here with bigger size, for example 5, it's good, or maybe 4, that's great. Put that here like this and add other stitches line on the surface. So I'm going to pause the video and complete this phase, and again we are back. Okay, now we are done with the stitches on the leather part, and as you can see everything is fine. And now it's time to add final touch. For the final touch, we can create a paint layer here and call it Type Collection, and just change the blending mode to path through and apply it to all channel and add an anchor point here. And let's create a fill layer and call it Dirt, and just keep color and the roughness. And for the roughness, I'm going to put it as high value like this, and the color something like this. Okay, and add a black mask, add generator here, go to the dirt, use macro height, and in the macro height I'm going to load the high collection. So right now I'm going to decrease the dirt level like this, and yeah, we can play with the grunge amount and etc. And with the dirt layer we have more depth on the texture. That's great. And for adding ambient occlusion to the material, you need to go to the texture set setting, from this plus sign, add the ambient occlusion channel. That's great. And you can add filter on the effect layer and use matte FX HBAO. That's great. And now you have the ambient occlusion channel with this filter. Okay, that's great. You can change the height depth like this or play with the radius, and that's fine. So this is how we texture this jacket inside the Substance Painter. And don't hesitate to share your mind in the comment section. If you like or learn something new from this video, hit the like button and subscribe our channel. Be creative, be safe, bye.